So welcome to our webinar this afternoon. My name is Larry Reagan. I'm the facilitator for the Big Data Education Project, working with my colleague, Dr. J.R. Ryo. And we'd like to take some time this afternoon to have J.R. explain a little bit about this upcoming workshop, but also to give us some background, some context on this larger project that is exploring big data education, STEM education, and how technologies are impacting both the content material that's being developed, but also the delivery of that content. So we'll get into that in a couple minutes. We really have two parts of this webinar today. First, we're going to ask JR to give us a bit of a background on the larger project. You probably know this is the third series of 3 workshops, so it's the final workshop for this grant. And we'll explore a little bit about the first 2 workshops. The second part of this afternoon, we want to talk a little bit about what the workshop will strive to achieve, the objectives, and a little bit about how we'll do that. So before we go too much further on, let's ask Dr. Ryo to say hello. And JR, would you mind giving us a bit of an overview?
Oh, yeah. Hello, everybody. And I mean, we sent this email. I mean, I sent it, I guess. I'm guilty. So I sent this email, I guess, Saturday early morning about this webinar. So, I mean, that's probably why we don't have, a huge number of participants today. But, I mean, that's what we sort of intended anyway. So I think this is good in a sense that we have a small group to ask some questions, and we get probably better interactions this way, so it's good. And the goal, as Larry mentioned, is to get you a little prepared before you show up for the workshop. And I'd like to, get your input a little bit to improve our workshop because it's not done yet. So we still have a little time to work on it. So that's really the motivation. But my name is Jung Ryu, and I'm also called by my colleagues JR. So you can call me JR. My students call me Dr. J, so many different names, but that's how I go by. And I'm actually professor of information sciences and technology at Penn State, and also the head of our division called Business Engineering and Information Sciences and Technology at Penn State, Altoona. Penn State has, as you know, many different campuses. So we are one of those campuses out there in Altoona. But let me get started with my PowerPoint presentation just a little bit here. Without further ado, let's see. Are you able to see my PowerPoint?
Yes. Perfect, JR. Looks good.
Yeah, very good. That should be the first one, I think, building a big data analytics workforce in iSchools, right? That's the one you're seeing. Okay, good. Okay, so that's the title of the project. And as you know, we have a lot of demand out there in terms of big data, data science, and there is this very serious shortage in terms of responding to the demand. And as the industry, keeps growing, we will have a bigger shortage. So that's what that slide was for. And just to be a little more concrete, according to McKinsey Global Institute, I guess we have this number. The shortage number is 1.5 million, but I'm sure the number is also growing. So we need a lot of people in this field. And that was one of the motivations. I mean, how do we promote, I guess, this very exciting field of data science among students? And since I work at one of these iSchools, so iSchools, for those of you who are not familiar with iSchools, there are about 77 iSchools out there, and they're mainly interdisciplinary and applied in nature, really trying to solve any kind of information-related problems using technologies. So that's really the motivation behind iSchool. It's very multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and so
JR,
on.
can I
Yeah, so
with a
feel
question?
free to interrupt
Okay,
me at any
thanks. Thanks.
time.
JR knows me. We've worked a lot together, so he knows my style. Are iSchools primarily higher education oriented, or do they also span K to 12? Or,
Oh, these are all higher
oh,
education.
higher ed. Okay.
So all 77 of them. I'm sure the number is changing a little bit, so my number here may not be accurate, up to date,
Okay.
but last time I checked, it was 77. And at Penn State, we have this one called the College of ISD, Information Sciences and Technology. It's one of those iSchools.
Thank you.
Yep. And so we saw some opportunities in iSchools because, we have a lot of these students who are incoming, but not really aware of all these opportunities in big data, data science. And a lot of times they're interested, but they don't know like where to start, right? So that was really the challenge, and that's still probably our challenge. So we were thinking that maybe we could do something about it because they first of all need to get a little oriented about the industry, and then they need to get some preparation just to get started. So that's really the gist of our project. How do we help these students who are not essentially computer science students? I mean, they're better equipped in that sense because they have a lot of these courses that prepare them probably better, but maybe also coming in, they're probably also better prepared. But we thought iSchool students could still pursue careers in data science. And actually, while we were working on this project, our College of IST, they have proposed a new major in data science. So I mean, now they have actually a data science major, dedicated major in data science. But the project is really for all the institutions out there. I mean, not just iSchools, but any kind of, information related schools like MIS, for example, is a good one because they have students who are more IT oriented, but they could definitely use the help to become data scientists. So we are really trying to help students in terms of how to get started with data science careers. So that's really the motivation, and that's why we wrote the proposal. After a couple of times getting rejected, we finally got the money. So the proposal was entitled Building a Big Data Analytics Workforce in iSchools, as you know, but not just iSchools, I mean, probably anymore, but it's all really inclusive in this case. Over the years, we've sort of changed our focus a little bit. The goal is, like I said earlier, to first of all introduce what big data is or data science is and introduce students to all these opportunities, and then also hopefully they develop this passion for data science and big data. So motivation piece comes first, right? So let's get them interested. Once they get interested, let's introduce the students to these concepts and opportunities. And finally, building on that momentum, let's prepare them for the field by giving them the tools, teaching them how to use tools and learning them, helping them learn all the skills they need. I mean, not all the skills, some skills at least. Yeah.
JR, one of the things you said about the iSchool philosophy is that it's really an interdisciplinary approach. Right now, this project seems to be primarily focused at sort of STEM-related areas, but I would imagine as this grows that you will need English majors and you'll need communications majors, and it's not just one set, that this information that you're developing, some of this core information has such broad application across all domains.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, basically one thing I always emphasize is the fact that, if you want to pursue a career in data science, I mean, data science is almost probably a foundation for that.
Mm-hmm.
However, your specialization is very important because data science is almost like utility, just like knowing how to use computers these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you need to have your own specialty in a particular domain. So, I mean, data science becomes very useful when it's put into some sort of a context.
Sure.
And a good example of that is really something like cybersecurity, right? So you can do much, much more with your data science background if you are an engineer working in network security, for example. So I always try to, encourage our students to explore a specialty on top of data science because that's what is going to make them even more valuable.
I see. Okay, thank you.
That's the idea. So the objectives of the NSI project we're working on, I mean, this is our last year, so we're really like wrapping it up. And the culmination of the whole thing is really the workshop. So we're very happy to be able to offer the workshop. The three objectives, the major ones are, first of all, to develop these learning modules. And we're pretty much there with developing all the modules. And then train the faculty to be able to use the modules effectively. So that's what we've been doing for the past couple workshops. And this particular time, I mean, I'm sort of stealing all your thunder right now, I think a little bit, Larry, but
oh, that's okay. You're on a roll.
This particular one, we need to focus on, I guess, looking forward, So we've done these things so far. How can we build on what we've done so far? And let's brainstorm about what we can do, to take advantage of, our accomplishments. So that's sort of the idea behind the workshop. And the final goal of the project is also doing some assessment about, what kind of impact these modules we've developed so far are having, or how students are really receiving the modules and so on. So we've been doing some surveys and so on, but we hope that there are like more institutions that can adopt our modules and use our modules and give
provide
us
feedback.
Yeah, some more data to analyze, because a lot of things we've done so far, they're very exploratory, but we want to take it to the next level in terms of measuring our success. So that's really the gist of our project, and this is one of the photos we got out of our second workshop, and we're doing our third workshop. The good news this time is the workshop is pretty big.
JR and I have slightly different approaches on this as the program continues to grow. Being responsible for facilitating, we're going to have an awesome program. So
I'm going to stop here, basically.
It's all good. So, JR, I really appreciate that background, and I do want to just explore a little bit about the upcoming workshop. We begin on June 9th, which happens to be this upcoming Sunday. And I wonder if you could just talk with us a little bit about what you're at the end of that program on Tuesday afternoon. What do you hope to have achieved in that experience?
Oh, yeah, and like I said earlier, we have all these materials we have developed, but one thing we haven't really thought about too much is really the delivery mechanism. And of course, it's taking advantage of, the online education model, and everything is web-based, and you can, use our materials that are all housed in a website and so on. I mean, actually, we have 3 different websites you can check out, but we were also thinking that because we have all these emerging technologies like machine learning and artificial intelligence, we were wondering whether we could leverage those things, AI and ML, to teach actually data science. And a big part of data science is really AI and ML too, but we were wondering how we could leverage artificial intelligence and machine learning to better deliver these modules we have developed so far. And the core of the workshop is, I mean, it's called workshop for a reason. We're gonna make people actually work. Workshop and brainstorm with us and really work on, you know, potential solutions we could develop, you know, in the future to help educate our future data scientists.
So in that case, I hear really sort of three primary focused. Part of the workshop I know is going to be you reviewing what's been done, what's been created, sharing how those resources have been used and how they continue to be used. The second part is really talking about how do educators stay current with these emerging technologies? How do we teach these technologies? How do we integrate them into our curriculum? The third part I find fascinating and exciting, and that is how do we apply these technologies to the teaching and learning process?
Right.
And I know one that you're pretty passionate about is student feedback. Can you give us a little sample of what you think of where AI, machine learning, other technologies may affect the student feedback cycle?
Yeah, I mean, just regardless of, I guess, the topical areas, whether it's big data, data science, I mean, we all know how difficult it is to provide, you know, timely feedback to the students. And sometimes, you know, if you do a survey, like, let's say, targeting faculty members and ask, what is the biggest pain for you, you know? And sometimes, a lot of times, I think the answer coming back is grading.
Yeah,
so one of the focus areas we have for this workshop is how we, you know, make this process of providing feedback to students less painful, and also make it richer for the students.
More effective for the students.
More meaningful to the students too.
Yeah, sure.
For faculty members as well as students. And there are...
By that assessment, excuse me for interrupting, that assessment piece, you're talking both the assessments, the evaluations we do as the course is progressing, so it can help to keep the student on track or provide remediation if they need it. But you're also talking about final assessment, the grading process of homework assignments or final grade in the course. Yeah. So there's a lot there to unpack.
So some of it is could be automated, I would say. And there are companies out there working on that. And so the workshop has invited a few of those people working on these cutting edge technologies. And they'll definitely give us some insights, but we'll, you know, try to have conversations with them about, you know, what else we could be doing, or what kind of input they need to make their systems even better, and so on. But I mean, the focus of ours is always, teaching data science and big data. But I think this problem is sort of a universal, regardless of the topical areas we're teaching.
Right.
So in that sense, I think it'll be very beneficial to anybody participating in the workshop. I mean, they'll be able to get something out of it, I think, no matter what. Yeah.
Right. One of the things that excites me when I look over that invitation list is the quality of the individuals. Several who are with us on this call today, who I know have done extensive work in applying, in particular, Dr. Mung Soo has worked in the area of AI and student feedback and tutoring systems and so forth. So I think expertise like that around the table is going to make for a very discussion and dialogue.
Yeah, so it's an exciting time, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to work on this area with hopefully people who participate in the workshop, and who knows, we may be able to write another proposal and get funded. So.
Right. You mentioned that to me the other day. You said, oh, one of the outcomes is to continue this work. So because of the people we have in the room and because of the conversations and dialogues, you and I have discussed the idea that we are going to have new ideas about what has to be continued research, where funding might go, which may lead to additional grant submissions. So I think that's a great goal as well.
Yeah, and I think big part of it is also inspiring people to
Mm-hmm.
do more out there and contribute to the community. And
Mm-hmm.
my hope is we continue to offer this opportunity for networking and so on. And
Yeah.
hopefully we maintain this community for the foreseeable future. And I think this is like one thing I always regret because I create too many projects. But this one is particularly the one I want to keep working on, so it's good.
So, well, I think that's marvelous, and I think your interest and energy in this has been phenomenal. I know that Dr. Rachel Chung, currently with Chatham, but it's going to be with CMU, is also going to be joining us. Just very quickly to talk about the agenda quickly, we have, I'm going to say, a half dozen great speakers, some of them for longer periods. We'll have some panel discussions. We just added a session on today. We can talk a little bit about that. It's going to be our closing session on Tuesday, and it involves some students.
Yeah, so I recruited, and I know Rachel, Dr. Chung also recruited some students, but from Penn State, I recruited about 4 students, and they, I'm sure, will be happy to share thoughts and opinions about, how we should be doing a lot of these things we'll be talking about during the workshop. So I think it's always nice to get a different perspective, because we always talk about education and teaching and learning without, students present. So I think that's always, I would say, unfortunate, but I think this time around we're able to do it, and I'm so happy about that.
Yeah. So great. It sounds like we have educators, we have thought leaders, we have students, we have faculty. We're going to have industry people. If you think of entrepreneurs, people who are starting, who may be faculty, but they are starting up these businesses, tapping into some of these technologies. So I think it's a really exciting time. I think we're going to have an exciting workshop. I wanted to turn to our guests and see if there are any questions that they might have about the program or the project.
Or anything they want to say about, the workshop. Yeah.
Hi, yeah, this is Abby. I just wanted to I saw the program and I kind of know, I have been talking to Jung-woo for a while. I kind of know. So I really don't have any particular questions. So is this the end of your grant?
Yeah, basically this is the last year of our project and we're wrapping it up, but there's a lot of work still to be done, and one of the things I want to accomplish is to build this network and community to continue on with developing some of these materials. And I mean, of course, I cannot develop everything on my own.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, if I can recruit some help, and identify the areas where we need help, and if the faculty members could contribute to those types of things, I think, yeah, it can go on, for a long, long time, I'm sure. Yeah. But I'm willing to help out as much as I can.
Okay.
Thank you, Abid. Dr. Meng-Soo?
Hi, IJ. My name is Meng-Soo. I'm the associate professor at Penn State Erie, Barron College. I have lots of discussion and with Larry before, and especially on the machine learning AI education related to the industry. So we started to offer a course, machine learning in data science, like 2-3 years ago, as a pilot course. And now this year we have formally developed it, and will be offered as a formal course at Penn State. And the theme of this course is more related to how to use the industry service, AI services, machine learning services to solve real world problems. It's project oriented. So I'm very interested in Ajay, your project, your this the modules you have developed. And actually, when I received the invitation, that's the first time I heard this. So I immediately replied, and I think it's very, very interesting. I think I'm eager to learn and see if we can have some discussion in these areas, combine my thoughts, our practice with yours.
Yeah, that would be wonderful, because one area I want to do a little more work on is really to leverage these cloud computing services. We have solutions like, excuse me, Amazon or Microsoft Azure, IBM. I mean, we have all these platforms we can take advantage of, but I'm thinking that you're already doing it. So I think it would be great to, learn from you on how we can make that happen too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think, JR, to your point earlier, no one person, right, has all the skill sets, has all the time to do this. And I think by you focusing on building that network, that's really going to bring the power to this kind of a project. So it really is a very exciting.
Very good. By the way, I think Dr. Dodd didn't have a chance to introduce himself a little bit. So maybe
I'm sorry.
You can have him introduce himself a little bit.
Dr. Dodd?
Hi, yeah, this is Abby. I'm a professor of practice at University of Maryland, Baltimore County in the computer science department. Been working on data science on and off, and for the last 2 years, I've been working on it full time. I started with data mining in the early 2000s, and like that when it was kind of taking off, and I mostly worked in hierarchical clustering. Currently, I use R. That's kind of the one I use. And I'm also looking into learning many of the different techniques, such as especially Azure and AWS. And, one challenging fact about big data is obviously SQL databases, and Databricks is the Spark framework is something. So on my summer project, I'm kind of trying to learn.
Wonderful.
Marvelous. Thank you. So, JR, can I ask you if there's anything else you'd like to share? Any other information you think our guests, either live or who may view this later?
Yeah. So
anything else you should share?
One last thing is, I think I didn't mention the co-PIs of the project.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just, are you able to see the PowerPoint? So I don't know whether you see my pointer. Do you see?
Yep. You're circling around someone.
Yeah, so the one I just circled around is my co-PI. So I'm the PI, principal investigator of the project, and Dr. Lee, Dongwon Lee, is my co-PI.
Okay.
And then another co-PI is Dr. Suyong Byun. So he's another co-PI. So three of us, we are running the project. And unfortunately, they're not able to make it to the workshop, but I'm going to be there. And I just wanted to introduce our team a little bit. That's it. Yeah.
Terrific. All right. Well, with that, we will wrap this up. Thank you, JR, for taking the time this afternoon. This was really helpful in giving us some of the ground information. And thank you as well for our guests for joining us. We'll be seeing you in now less than a week in Pittsburgh. It's always nice to see old friends and to make new ones. So we'll have a great program. We've got a lot of energy for the project and a lot of work. I think we have a high level of engagement. So come prepared.